One sport that I'm not really too familiar with, but it seems like it's really been picking up is lacrosse.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, I know you've been in touch with the lacrosse coaches.
And I can tell you they're probably thrilled about this weather because not only will they make their teams go out and practice in weather like this, but a lot of the coaches were telling me how they needed this. They needed extra time because they have a lot of new players coming in as the sport's picking up in popularity. They're getting a lot of athletes from other teams that are coming over.
Yeah.
Some of the, one of the coaches, I won't say who, but was telling me a story about how he would stand out in the hallway during winter track practice and watch the kids come by and decide who he needed to try to grab for the team. So
it's getting a little competitive. Well, there's so many sports.
Yeah, well, one of the coaches, I'm not going to say who it is, but they're a track coach, and they were saying how their numbers have dropped because of lacrosse picking up in popularity. So it's actually hurting a certain track program. I'm sure it's hurting, some of the track programs.
Well, I've heard the same story with baseball. Baseball players kind of going over. So, I mean, yeah, it's interesting to see a sport kind of, what do you think it is about the sport that is drawing people in?
Well, one of the advantages of it for a lot of the people who are playing it is new and it is a chance to get on a team pretty early. So if you're a high school kid and you don't really play a sport regularly, you don't have a year-round sport that you've played since you were 9, it's a chance to kind of get in on the ground floor. So that is what's helping a lot of the numbers. But then the athletes who play soccer and play basketball, hockey, these other sports, they're seeing that it's actually comprised, as Mark Fitzsimmons, the Vogue Tech coach, told me, it's comprised of all the best parts of the other sports.
Yeah.
So now you're getting a lot of these athletes in there too. So you've got kids who are first-timers learning the game alongside kids who are probably learning the game for the first time too, but usually are the stars.
Right.
So it's going to make you think that, you've got a chance to be, if you're just a regular kid at Fairhaven High, now you can play on a team with Taylor Mata, whereas in another sport you might not make the cut.
You think that's, well, I guess that's...
Well, I think also, one thing is between the boys and the girls, lacrosse is just such a different sport, which people probably don't think that's different. Yeah, boys lacrosse is just so much more physical. It's almost like football. It's got that kind of aspect. And then in girls lacrosse, it's a lot more like, let's say basketball, setting picks and, doing that kind of thing as far as setting up offenses.
Yeah, it's more about the finesse and the physicality.
Yeah, so, it's two different sports based on gender.
And what I like about it with this new explosion of it here is it's giving a lot of coaches that, this might be their only sport that they can coach. And we're getting people in here that know the game. Whereas the last few years, it was kind of whichever teacher is not doing anything in the spring, let's have them coach lacrosse. Whereas now we're actually drawing people from other areas and people who are from lacrosse hotbeds.
Yeah. I know it's big. It's bigger, and I think we're still a step behind in terms of competitiveness. With the northern teams, but I think it'll pick up. Who, of the teams, who are the best teams that we have? Who should be the teams that are going to the tournament this year? Do you think? Do we know?
I really like the Dartmouth boys because they had a very good season last year, and they're bringing back a lot of players. And Andy Goodman, since day one, has always preached that it's more about a team. Overall team than to have a stud scorer, and they seem to have plenty of very capable team players this year. The New Bedford boys are also, since Shane Relihan took over the program, they've made the tournament each of his 2 years, and so there's no reason to think that won't continue. Other teams are still up and coming. Vogue Tech's going to have kind of a tough move this year because they're not playing in the vocational league. Okay. They're actually playing an independent schedule, which will allow them to play a lot of the teams around here that they have rivalries with. But it may put them behind the 8 ball a little bit against some of the stronger teams in our area.
Okay.
I know on the girls' side, Bishop Stang, is probably a team really to watch out for with Phoebe LaPlante. She was our lacrosse player of the year last year on the girls' side. She's back. From what I've read and heard, Kiana Raposo came out for New Bedford's team. She's a volleyball player and a basketball player at New Bedford High, and she's a really good athlete. That could probably help them a little bit.
Those two teams are really interesting because you have last year New Bedford girls, Shauna McRae was a first-year lacrosse coach, and it was really her first exposure to the sport. Now she's more well-versed, and she's gone to some clinics and some camps. And that combined with the fact that they're bringing in Raposo and some other athletes, it's going to take what was a pretty decent team and make them even better. The thing about Stang is Dave Pont is a swimming coach, and he never even saw lacrosse until 4 weeks ago. So,
but he's a good coach.
Yeah.
He's a great coach.
He's a really good coach.
He's taking a different approach. He looked at a 17-3 team and found their weakness, and he said that they don't know how to run. They know how to set up the plays and what they need to do, but they need to learn how to run better in the open field. So that's something that he's been working on them with. So if you're taking a team that's already that good and being able to add another element, then I think they're going to be scary.
I think also the interesting part about staying is that they have, those athletes that are just joining the sport, when they begin high school, but then they're also getting a lot of those kids from, down in the Cape who have been, playing lacrosse since they were young. And I mean, if you look at like Phoebe LaPlante, I mean, she's going to be going, Division I scholarship athlete for lacrosse, and she only began.
That's right. Her scholarship is for lacrosse.
Yeah, for lacrosse.
I keep thinking it's for basketball, but it's not.
And she only began playing lacrosse when she got to high school, but because there was other kids on the team that knew lacrosse, helped, and then she went to camps and such, so it is a sport that you can really pick up and develop, pretty quickly in if you're a good athlete.
The only thing that really hurts the teams down here is there's another realignment of the Maritime Conference. They've now split it into 2 divisions, so they're not going to be seeing the same teams necessarily that they saw in the past on a frequent basis. So they're going to be seeing a lot more of Martha's Vineyard, strong team. They're going to see Nantucket, strong team. You're going to see these established programs, Bridgewater, Raynham. They're going to come in and kind of cause problems a little bit, but I think that in the end of the year when they're looking over the statewide standings, you're going to see maybe not so many individual people out of this area in the top 25, 30 teams, but you're going to see a lot of these teams getting more recognition because just the fact that as the programs mature, they're bound to get better too.